Hello and welcome everyone to Facebook Live. We got a special guest here, the star of the Blitz, Simeon Rice. Thank you so much for joining us and all our fans here in Tampa as we talk about the big game coming up on Sunday between the Tampa Bay Buccaneers and the Philadelphia Eagles. First and foremost, Sim, just let's first talk about what we know about this team and how we've gotten to this point. Just as we break down what we've seen from week one to right now, where do you think this team is and how do you think they performed leading up to this playoff run?
I think the team is, obviously they're ready, but they're getting guys back that's not going to be ready. I think it's going to be a shaky first quarter. I think it's going to take guys time, especially on the defensive side, guys that haven't been playing, to kind of get their football legs back under them. I think right around the third quarter, you could start seeing the tides turning and start taking real dominance in the fourth quarter, being themselves. As far as the defense goes, as far as the offense goes, I feel like it's going to be a slow start as well. Got a lot of new faces in new places and different positions. So he's going to have to really warm up to that whole new crew of receivers that he's going to be throwing to, and some's just getting back, and Mike Evans is kind of getting his legs back under him and getting healthy. So I think it's going to be as rougher than people expect.
Do you think, though, when you say slow starts, maybe on either side of the ball, does it help in that category that you've seen the team already in the regular season? I mean, does that maybe help kickstart something, at least offensively?
From an individual matchup, if you got guys that's playing against guys, like you got defensive ends that's playing against off defensive tackles that can warm up to these guys and understand the guys that they've kind of had confrontations with this whole year in terms of playing before. And when you got matchups, offense to corners, yes. But I think where it's really going to extend itself when you get into coordinator to coordinator, when you get into the mind games of it all, defensive coordinator versus offensive coordinator, trying to outthink each other, also being familiar with each other and their play calling and things of that nature. But that's about it. When the playoff starts, you kind of got to forget about the regular season. That doesn't matter. If you lean on the regular season, oftentimes you get beat because you start taking things for granted. Guys really come into the playoff with a fresh perspective, and the records doesn't matter.
Yeah, and first off, again, if you're joining us on Facebook Live, thank you. We got Simeon Rice here, Super Bowl champion, was also part of a playoff win against the Philadelphia Eagles back in the day. If you're a Bucs fan, you remember that game. It's one of the best ever in franchise history. And Sim, for this franchise, they seem to always find each other in the playoffs. I know it's been a long time, but there was a stretch there where the Bucs and the Eagles were playing back-to-back years. And can you take us back into that rivalry when you were playing, and especially that win in Philadelphia? You're heading to Super Bowl, which would then result in a Super Bowl victory.
Well, the two-part is this. I'll answer the first part. When I got there, the Eagles kind of had Tampa's number. They had Tampa's number every year, and it was much to do about nothing, but it was said that we couldn't travel and play in the inclement weather. 40 degrees, they lost all the time. I get there, my mindset's a bit different. Coming from Chicago, playing against Donovan McNabb, I'm like, let's bring it. So irregardless of the circumstances, we could get it done. And our team was, prior for me getting there, was led by Warren Sapp. It was like Warren played well, they said, we played well, and we won. When I got there, I wasn't waiting on no one. I'm like, I'm going to set a tone that this team is going to be found. We're going to find it's going to be unique by. We're going to all kind of like hold our own. And I was holding my own regardless of who played well. So, and Marinelli identified that, and he knew the tides were starting to change. The discipline was starting to change. We were starting to get even more hungry. It freed guys to be able to get their individual matchups up front, and we were a blitz up front. When your defense is so good, it becomes an offense. That's when you're special. And we had Rondé Barber stepping up, making big plays in that slot corner position. You got Derrick Brooks, all-time great, again making big plays. So we became dominant, And when we did that, we took out a severe beating out on the Eagles, and the tide changed.
And I know that, and I just want to say, I know that you really enjoyed that fumble, that forced fumble, and that scoop up on Donovan McNabb, because and I don't think you mentioned it right there, but you do have history with Donovan McNabb in that game.
I do. You're talking to two guys that practice against each other every day in practice in high school. We grew up together. We went to the same high school. He's 2 years younger. He got brought up to varsity. And oftentimes when I would get kicked out of practice, it's because I wasn't letting the offense run their plays. And Donovan was the second string quarterback. He was young at the time, but everybody knew he was going to be a superstar, a super stud, whether he chose basketball or football, and he went the football route. That being said, so when we were able to see each other at the highest level, I got to remind him I'm still the big brother. And playing with I came down with my crew. He had his crew, and we saw what went out and what played out. And it was an amazing time because the stories, when we get into the playoffs, it's all about storyline. It's all about story references. It's all about the lineage. It's all about legacy. It's all about culture. And to not only win that game, and keep in imagine back in Chicago on the South Side, everybody is watching that game. Mm-hmm. Mount Carmel High School is watching that game. The communities are watching that game, and they're watching this two-headed monster, Donovan McNabb versus Simeon Rice. That's how it was in Chicago, and how that played out. That we were both playing for a championship, both playing to get to the Super Bowl. So it was amazing, to be able to play against somebody that I know personally. And then there were storylines that came out even prior to the Super Bowl when they were like calling us out individually.
That's right.
And that hit us all differently. Yeah, they were calling us out. I think it was Brian Mitchell that was calling us out, the kick returner at the time, and names were called, and my name was called as well. So. It was all of those things going on because they really felt like they had us. And we went in there with our dominance and we did what we did and we didn't look back.
That's right. You got to bring the show for it.
That
then
game
as the
specifically.
confetti is falling, all of the confetti's falling. We at the Super Bowl and we looking back, and that was the game. That was one of our moments.
Since the Bucs are playing the Eagles this weekend, that specific NFC Championship game, what did that do for you guys mentally? Because sometimes it's almost harder to get there than it is to get it done at the Super Bowl, and you see it in some sports with the Olympics, harder to get to the Olympics. Kind of a same thing maybe there. What did that win do for you guys mentally, and is there any parallel to what the Bucs were able to do last year, kind of getting over the hill and getting it done?
I think so. When you get things done like that, you know where you come from. You know the elk. You know that you know what you're built on. And when you can present these complicated questions, because sports is all about questioning who you are in moments, your integrity. Look at guys. AB was questioned. Even a sit. You get into it with your coach, and that's how you behave. It's all about questions and response. How do you answer to the questions that's asked? Even in times, can we play in cold weather? That was a question. Remember, it's questions, it's storyline. When we were able to travel to the vet and shut it down. Also, shameless plug, my clothing line, T3K, everybody was rocking it feeling warm. So I was doing that there. I had the garments going. But no, to be honest with you, that's what sports is about. Sports is really a foray into who you really truly are. And if it's in you, it's going to come out of you. And that's what they were able to achieve when they won the Super Bowl last year, but that was last year. But when they go into their mind's eye in these difficult scenarios, they should be able to, in one game elimination, playoff games like that, they should be able to bring out that in which they have created with themselves and developed with themselves in tough times and rise above it. And you have a guy at the helm, at the quarterback position, that has done that several times. So offensively, they should be secure. And defensively, because they've done it as well, they should be okay. They should want to go after another title the same way.
Yeah.
So you say questions. What do you have any questions about this team, and what would they be for you that you would like to see answered in Wild Card Weekend on Sunday?
This is a new year, irregardless. This is a new year. How are they going to come off of all that debacle that has happened? All of the white noise that's been around this team. Receivers being hurt, guys being injured, that happens. You look at the Bulls teams back in the day, a lot of their rivals was themselves coming back to be healthy, being able to reproduce it, not letting winning get old, getting stale like we've done this before, not getting too familiar with it, still wanting to be hungry, still wanting to be thirsty, going after something that you just don't have. Greatness is that it's on the other side of fear. So you have to still face your fears. You have to face everything that you're up against. You're up against a young team that want to take you down. That's still relevant. That's still in play. I see it as going to be a dogfight this game. It's not a given that they're going to get out of this game. But if they do, this is going to be a one more notch in the belt, another feather in the cap going into whatever is going to be greater, because every test is going to be greater every week as it continues to build. So I'm looking towards to how these guys come back this week, how these guys are able to produce in this game, and how these guys are going to be ready and gear themselves up for next week. So the eye is always watching.
And Simeon's always watching. And I want to say thank you to everybody joining us on Facebook Live right now. Remember, the Blitz, starring our man right there, dead center, is on at 8:30 in the morning on Sunday. And Sim, we have one more question for you. We're not going to ask you your pick because you got to watch the Blitz for that. But what I do want to ask you is, Tom Brady, 34-11 in the postseason. You mentioned it. This team has been through a lot of adversity, considering the injuries and whatnot. Just how important is it to have Tom Brady? Is that the ultimate ace in the hole for this Bucs team that has gone through ups and downs throughout this entire season, despite being the number 2 seed in the NFC?
I think that is a feather in you guys' cap, that not only do they have a coach that's been there, they have a quarterback that's kind of like a coach that knows how to get his guys ready, because he's got a ball in his hand many times. But again, that's just one player. You know, I mean, we charm him, we exalt the greatness, but it's really, when you're looking at that, that's the greatness of a team. And this team is going to have to come around him. If the team can come around him, and they truly believe in what they do, and you can believe, but can you execute? Executing is the bottom line. You could be uncertain and still execute, you know. And then it's in the fashion in which you execute. So execution, to be able to not only do some of the things and run some of the plays and execute on some of the levels that they want in their own personal mind's eye, from receivers to O-linemen to DBs to linebackers and everybody else in between, special teams. They got to come together as a team and really exude dominance and show what they're going to be coming up. To me, this is a sign. You got to send a message this week to the rest of the NFL, like, we coming, we're hungry, and we coming for another one. If not, they're going to be at home, and this will be our final episode this year.
Yeah, well, we are very excited to see this team make its run, and hopefully we got many more episodes to come. Simeon, thank you so much for joining us on Facebook Live. One more reminder, the Blitz this Sunday at 8:30 in the morning. We got Sim waking up nice and early for us, as we're going to be talking about that matchup against the Philadelphia Eagles. A lot more nuggets to give you. Ben Murphy, thank you so much as well. Any last thoughts from you?
As always, I think it'll be a good one. I think we can get a close one on Sunday.
Well, we'll see. Thank you so much for joining us.
Check my style. Follow me, Simeon Rice _ Simeon _ Rice at Instagram.
Give the man a follow.
Please. You're missing out if you don't.